Greetings and welcome in everyone, my name is Dominic and today you're tuning in to the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. And today we're finally taking a look at a video concept I've teased on the channel recently. This is the Ultimate Universe Phase 1 Retrospective that I'm doing to cover all of the Volume 1s released for Marvel's new Ultimate Universe. I am also including the Ultimate Invasion paperback, which sets off this whole new universe, and I can't wait to discuss it today. One of the reasons I wanted to do this as well is because I know Marvel Comics is planning to release a box set of all of these volumes, and for those on the fence or wondering what they can expect from a box set of this nature, I hope this video answers that question. If you're new or just finding out that Marvel has a new Ultimate Universe and you want more details or want to see more in depth some of the titles, I hope this video satisfies. However this video finds you, I hope you settle in and enjoy. Before we jump in though, I would like to shout out the channel's sponsor, Panel Bound Comics. If you're looking to pick up your own comic book collected editions, I highly encourage you to check out their website. You can find a link to them in the video's description, and if you see anything on the website you like, you can actually use my discount code at checkout, TheComicBookReport, to save $2 off of your order. Please note if you use my affiliate link or code to make a purchase, I will earn a small commission, but it's a fantastic way to support the channel. Thanks, now on with the show. Another quick note, as I will be flipping through some of today's collections and speaking on some of the plot points, I did want to issue a general spoiler warning for Phase 1 of Marvel's new Ultimate Universe. You've been advised. Okay, to kick off this Ultimate Universe retrospective, we're going to be looking at the event miniseries book that really teed it all up for us, and this is Ultimate Invasion by Jonathan Hickman. This was a really fun little paperback collection. I will say, while this includes all the issues of Ultimate Invasion, it does not include the Ultimate Universe one-shot. I know a lot of people were disappointed that wasn't included in this collection, but rest assured you do have it collected in the Ultimates Volume 1, which I will be speaking to at a later point in this video. Okay, with that in mind, let's go ahead and talk about Ultimate Invasion. So this is a quick couple issue mini-series, again from Jonathan Hickman, and it basically bridges the gap from the mainstream Marvel 616 universe into Marvel's new, I believe, 6160 universe. I think that's the designator for the new Ultimate Universe, and basically this book sets up how that happens, why it happens, and who is pulling the strings. If you haven't guessed it yet, of course, behind it all is the Maker, the Reed Richards from the original Marvel Ultimate Universe, who was displaced and thrown into the mainstream 616 universe after the events of Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars. We've seen him just kind of in the background of the Marvel Universe, planning and plotting to try to make his way out of this universe, and here he is really striking. After he's essentially freed toward the beginning of this book, we basically have him enacting his final plans to break into a new universe. Really cool though, within this miniseries, we have a scene where he actually stops by in Miles Morales' room to invite him to go to the universe with him, in case he wants to flee this universe of which he is not a native either. I thought that this was a kind of moving consideration and also kind of insidious and creepy all in one, a very effective scene. Miles declines and ultimately the Maker goes forth into the unknown. We find out through the pages of this miniseries, however, that in this new universe, he is jumping through time and basically scheming and doing whatever he can to prevent the Marvel Universe from basically having the heroes that we most notably have in those universes. He does this by killing some and changing circumstances just enough so that these heroes never emerge, and he can ultimately come into that vacuum and reign supreme. Well, he does create this world, and ultimately it's up to Tony Stark's father to try to stop him. Ultimately, Ultimate Invasion ends with a kind of scene of him getting sealed away or removed in a space where he won't return to the Ultimate Universe for like a year or two, and the rest of these Ultimate titles just begin in the wake of that plot point. And now as we finish Ultimate Invasion and jump into the first of these standalone Ultimate Universe titles, I will just mention that all of these books have now been reviewed on my channel in case you've missed any of the reviews. You can definitely seek them out. Okay, and as we jump into the first volumes or phase 1 of this new Marvel Ultimate Universe, we're going to be taking a look at Hickman and Marco Caccetto's Ultimate Spider-Man. And this is volume 1 entitled Married with Children. I was most excited about this book when I first heard about Marvel's new Ultimate Universe. Being a fan of the previous Ultimate Universe, the character of the Maker, Spider-Man, and certainly Jonathan Hickman, this was like a perfect storm for me, and I had heard nothing but rave reviews about this title. And I will say overall, this really didn't disappoint. This picks up with a Peter Parker who is a bit older. I think he's in his early 40s or late 30s, somewhere in that zone. He is married to Mary Jane Watson with 2 children, a young son and a younger daughter. In this world, he never actually became Spider-Man. That is, until he gets an artifact from Tony Stark, the Iron Lad, basically telling him what happened to this universe and giving him that kind of radioactive spider. He chooses to receive the bite of the spider and regain, or for the first time, have his spider powers. But now that he has them later in life, in a decidedly different world, what kind of Spider-Man will he be? Well, that is what we explore in the pages of this title. It also should be noted that this book takes place after the events of the Ultimate Universe one-shot, where we have a horrific event and we have Iron Lad sending out these messages to a lot of the would-be heroes. So those events, while they happen in the Ultimate Universe one-shot, we do have a paragraph at the beginning of this book that kind of explains some of the pertinent details, including, unfortunately, after this horrible event that is blamed on the Ultimates, we basically have the death of Aunt May, not Uncle Ben, in this universe. So we have Peter Parker and Uncle Ben basically still grieving the loss of Aunt May, and we now have Spider-Man trying to figure out his abilities. Mary Jane knows, of course, and his children begin to find out over the course of this volume. This first volume also introduces us to Harry Osborn's Green Goblin and their up-and-coming friendship. We're also introduced to some of the threats that Spider-Man faces, but ultimately this is really a Spider-Man origin story that leans heavily on the family, and I think that's much to the success of this amazing title. Next up, for Marvel's new Ultimate Universe Phase 1, I have Ultimate Black Panther Volume 1, Peace and War. This is an incredible work from Hill, and honestly, this to me feels the most like a proper 616 book. In fact, if you just changed a few details, I would have no problem believing that this wasn't just a straightforward Black Panther arc. We follow T'Challa's Black Panther in the world of Wakanda in this Ultimate Universe. His biggest threat, of course, is the faction known as Moon Knight. They are some of the Maker's sort of lieutenants or generals that rule over this territory, and rather than being a single avatar or person, Moon Knight, it's more of an organization headed up by 2 characters. They are basically trying to destabilize Wakanda, harvest its resources for themselves, and ultimately just try to do naughty bad things. Following T'Challa, we have him grappling with the throne and his nature as the Black Panther. We have characters like Shuri and his kind of beloved in this book as well. We are also introduced to the characters of Eric Killmonger and Storm, who are definitely prevalent figures in the book. Like Harry Osborn and Spider-Man in Ultimate Spider-Man before this, we have an interesting dynamic between Killmonger and T'Challa where they really are allies to begin with. And whether or not that relationship maintains that integrity or not, I guess I'll find out through further readings down the line in this run. But I really loved this book overall. I think it had a lot of fun and fresh twists and turns while feeling definitively Black Panther. Wakanda is beautiful to see, the art throughout it is fantastic, and this is one of the most grounded Ultimate Universe titles in my mind. Straight down the line there, this is just a great Black Panther book, and I can't wait to see what happens next. For fans of kind of international politics, some good action, and some drama, this is a really fun read, and yeah, one I will definitely follow closely in the weeks and months ahead in the run. Okay, next on this Ultimate Universe list, we have The Ultimate X-Men by Peach Momoko. This is the Volume 1, Fears and Hates, and this to me is the most divisive and really unique title coming out of the Ultimate Universe. If you haven't heard anything about it, this is essentially an Ultimate X-Men title by way of really an Eastern cultural inspired kind of narrative. The art style as well, the visuals, it has a very heavy manga feel. I think it's even set in Japan, which I love to see. At the end of the issues too, we have these little informative pages that note some of the cultural artifacts or items or themes sometimes present in the issue. It's a really immersive and interesting experience. We follow a young girl who has an emerging mutant ability as she basically is haunted by a recent tragedy in her past. As she tries to uncover more about this malevolent, shadowy force, we also have her meeting other kind of new up-and-coming mutant characters, and while there is really no connection so far that I've seen to Xavier and the proper X-Men team, she begins to form this group of characters largely made of mutants to uncover more mysteries within her school and just overall city. And again, this really feels like the most disconnected title within the new Marvel Ultimate Universe as well. I think there's people that are going to enjoy the rest of the titles that might not enjoy this, and people that might enjoy this that might not like the rest of the titles. This is a great bridge book for fans of manga as a medium that maybe aren't into Western comics. I think that it's a really good starting place for something like that. It certainly boasts some darker themes and some manga tropes that were really recognizable to me. The art style from Momoko is just really incredible. It's honestly captivating to look at. It has this kind of watercolor appearance. The character models are all interesting and rounded. I thought the characterizations were well done, dialogue was solid, and the plotline was fascinating. I'm honestly interested in picking up the volume 2 and see what further details emerge and what questions get answered. Again, this is the most tangential and kind of offbeat Ultimate Universe collection in my mind, but still a worthy entry that has certainly created quite a buzz in Marvel Comics. I've easily read nothing like this by this publisher in the past, and I'd be curious to see more of this kind moving forward. Okay, next up in the new Marvel Ultimate Universe, this is The Ultimates, Volume 1, Fix the World by Deniz Camp. Also, people like Jonathan Hickman contributed because this not only collects the first arc of The Ultimates, but we also finally have that aforementioned Ultimate Universe one-shot, which again was written by Jonathan Hickman. A lot of people said that that should have been included in Ultimate Invasion, but I certainly see why it was mapped here with The Ultimates, as that's kind of the prelude issue that sets up the formation of the Ultimates and the central conflicts that a lot of them have to navigate. For those that don't know, the Ultimates is the Ultimate Universe's answer to the Avengers. This is the premier superhero team within this universe, and this was honestly a long-awaited book for me. I think this title began about 6 months after the other titles, and they addressed that and as basically why that is in the pages of this book. Basically, they were trapped in some kind of time thing as well, I believe, and then they were ultimately kind of released. So in the Ultimate Universe, we basically are kind of introduced, or we get more with Iron Lad, Tony Stark. He is a younger Iron Man of sorts. We get to know more about what was happening with his father and kind of the events of Ultimate Invasion. Honestly, this one-shot really feels like an epilogue to that and the bridge into a lot of these other series like Ultimate Spider-Man and certainly here with the Ultimates. We also have the introduction of this universe's Thor and Sif. We have Thor kind of almost mortally injured by a sword through the chest. He's kind of impaled. We have Sif sort of watching out for him. He may or may not be a prisoner of Asgard, which I found to be fascinating. We're introduced to Giant Man and the Wasp, Captain America, Hawkeye, America Chavez, and more in the pages of this. We also have a new She-Hulk, but that's really what this volume goes into. I maybe got a little ahead of myself. Essentially, this is the formation of the Ultimates team and them trying to get ready to face the Maker and some of his lower lieutenants or generals. So a lot of these issues, especially early on after the one-shot, we basically have Iron Lad, who I should say teamed up with Dr. Doom in this universe, who is this universe's Mr. Fantastic, which I also loved. The two of them are basically trying to kickstart as many heroes as possible, given what they know about what the Maker did. A ton more I can say about the title, but for this video I will just say it's the formation of the team and ultimately their first battle with one of the lieutenants, which is the Hulk, who in this universe is an Iron Fist. Anyway, a really great book, one of my favorites from this era. And rounding out our releases for Phase 1 of the new Marvel Ultimate Universe, of course we have Ultimate Wolverine, The Winter Soldier by Chris Condon and Alessandro Cappuccio. This is, of course, a Wolverine title. This was the latest issue 1 or volume 1 within the new Marvel Ultimate Universe, and it introduces us to, of course, Wolverine, who in this world was basically created not from Weapon X, but from the Winter Soldier program. He's basically ruled over by the lieutenants of the Maker, who in this case I'm referring to Colossus, Magic, and Omega Red. They kind of rule over Eastern Europe area, and basically they have their lead scientist trying to create the ultimate weapon or assassin, and in walks Logan, the Wolverine. We have him basically dispatching people for these lieutenants and trying to sort of unravel what his background is. Along the way, he's having to dispatch a lot of these mutant resistors who have their own kind of resistance movement to the Maker and some of these generals. Mutants like Mystique and Nightcrawler and Gambit and Kitty Pryde and more. Just how Logan was involved previous to when he became the Winter Soldier, and just what the mutants are going to go do from here, we'll kind of start seeing throughout this arc and presumably in future arcs as well. I think Ultimate Wolverine is not only a great Wolverine book, but this is really Marvel's answer to a proper X-Men title in this universe, since Peach Momoko's Ultimate X-Men is really kind of doing its own thing and maybe doesn't feel as much like a standard X-Men book. I think that this Wolverine title is a way to have our cake and eat it too. We have some fantastic cameos here. The art from Cappuccio is just next level. Yes, it is a bit violent and dark, but such is to be expected for many Wolverine ones, and that's certainly the case here. What I really liked about this Wolverine book is he feels like Wolverine, but mixing his backstory with the kind of Winter Soldier mechanics I thought was really ingenious. Having that led by these lieutenants of the Maker definitely feel like it grounded in the overall vision of this universe, again, kind of in service of the Maker, and I liked that wrinkle as well. To see this as a backdoor cameo or introduction engine for a lot of our mainstream X-Men characters as well was a surprising but brilliant masterstroke in my mind. I loved seeing Wolverine just get into his action best here. I like kind of unraveling the mystery of who this version's Wolverine is, and ultimately I can't wait for a volume 2. And with that, that's our brief overview for all of these Phase 1, Volume 1 titles within the Marvel New Ultimate Universe. Again, we're looking at Ultimate Invasion, Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Black Panther, Ultimate X-Men, The Ultimates, and of course, Ultimate Wolverine. This has been a long-awaited video for me, as I said. I wanted a chance to reflect and kind of give a primer for what you could expect in these first titles. And also knowing that Marvel was releasing a box set with all of these paperbacks inside, I thought that this would be a good way for people to shop or cherry pick what they're hoping to get from a box like that, or maybe to pick one of the titles they had yet to explore. I had a ton of fun with these Volume 1s. I have read Volume 2 of Spider-Man, but I still need to start picking up the rest. I'm definitely intrigued with where they're going. I know that they have announced some kind of endgame storylines for this Ultimate Universe, and while I hope we get a lot more in this universe, if they have an overall arc that they're hoping to achieve, I just hope they can land this plane successfully. This is the most excited I've been about an ongoing sequence of Marvel titles in some time, and I just cannot say how much I've enjoyed the ride. I would love to hear in the comments section, have you been reading any of Marvel's new Ultimate Universe? What have you thought so far? What are some of your favorite titles? Have you been keeping up to date? Do you have some of the Volume 2s or even Volume 3s that are starting to trickle out? Let me know all of that in the comments. Again, this was a ton of fun to put together. I feel like I could speak even more extensively on all these titles, and maybe I will in the comments with all of you. Thank you again for watching, and until next time, this has been the Comic Book Report. Please don't forget to leave your like, your comments, and maybe share this video with a friend. Thanks everyone, and have a good one.